I'm next. My name is Elizabeth Westman. I live on Englewood Road. I'm north of Mayfield, north of Monticello.
So you heard your neighbors say what?
It wasn't me. The quote was not me. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about collaboration. There are limits to what city government can do by itself. Cleveland Heights has a wonderful history of community groups identifying problems and initiating projects to address them. If you could talk a little bit about your views of collaboration and any additional ways you'd like to see the city work with all segments of our community, from individuals to neighborhood groups, nonprofits, and businesses, to strengthen our city.
Isn't collaboration a fabulous word? But the simplest word is team. Government is a team sport. For people who don't get that, that's why their government doesn't work well unless they believe in benevolent dictatorships. If you have total control, that is the way to make it work the way you want it to work. And of course, you silence people's input in a dictatorship. One of the first forms of government I ever understood was when we lived in Spain as a child and Franco was the dictator. So you only did what he wanted you to do, and your lifestyle reflected his decisions and opinions. As I said earlier, diversity is a wonderful thing, and this city exemplifies it. So one of the things we have to do is figure out how to work with each other on a continuous basis. One of the things I do on a regular basis is figure out, I prioritize. What do I have to have in this dialogue, and what can I concede, and what is the best, what's the bottom line here? I'm very goal-oriented and very solutions-oriented, but at the same time, if you understand that most of this stuff is a team sport, it works out better. Even the quarterback has to give the ball to somebody else in football. And in baseball, you sometimes need a coach to get you to the next base. So what I do believe is that to get a piece of legislation passed at City Council, you've got to have 3 other people support you at a minimum. You've got to have the simple majority. If you cannot convince your colleagues to support the issue that you have presented to them, you've got to find ways to help them understand why it's important to the organization. I'm like one of those people, if you give me something, if there's a misconjugation of a verb, or the word should be plural instead of singular, I'm going to change that and hand it back to you. I'm not going to go over the sentiment of what you really are implying. I am not a wordsmith. I want to look at the substantive issues that we have to deal with and focus on how we solve those problems and make life better for everyone. And does my name have to be on the front of everything? This is probably the only time I've stepped beyond the background. I used to say, because I do community and economic development finance for a living, that you don't need to know who I am. You just need to see the results of what I do. That was one of my favorite phrases. But at this point in time, the skill sets that I have and what I can contribute to this organization and to this community, it's my time to step up to the table and offer those services. If I can, for 8 years I've served on Planning Commission, and one of the things I do on Planning Commission, occasionally I as you can tell, I'm not short on opinions, but sometimes I just listen, and then toward the end I make my statement and make a motion. Sometimes my motions are not supported with a second, but a lot of times they are. And that is because I try to figure out and listen to what other people are saying, what is the approach we want, what is related to the law, that the zoning code and state law and federal law and the issues we're dealing with, and then make sure that we combine the best of those activities. Sometimes I don't personally agree with the decision by law we have to make, but I support it because I support the laws of this land. And then I try to make things the most affable, if that's an appropriate word, for what we believe in this community, even if it's something that we don't always support. As a former planning director, we had a signage ordinance that didn't allow signs except for like a week before the election. So I had to go to one of my dearest friends, who's now my campaign co-chair, and tell her her signs were illegal as I ate dinner at her house one Sunday. Because that was the law. She was like, "You're eating dinner at my house and you're telling me that my the sign in my front yard is illegal? I'm like, yes, ma'am. It's legal, and I'll be taking it down when I leave. But I put it on her porch so she could put it out when it was legal. So we've got, and of course it's humorous now, it's a story we always tell about each other, that even though she was feeding me and she was on city council, so technically I kind of sort of worked for her, I still told her what the law was, reminded her of it, and helped her comply. So I'm not unwilling to step up to the table and say something that might be uncomfortable. I'll try and find a comfortable way to say it, because there's no need to burn bridges with folks, but all of this is about a collaborative team effort to make this community better for all of us.
Great.